Monday, the 5th of September, 1893. 11 o'clock. I've been feeling rather apprehensive, but I came to the decision that today would be the day I showed Miss Charlotte my face. However, it was much easier said than done, and saying that, even to myself, was much too hard for me. She was able to tell I was hesitating on something, meaning to tell her some sort of dire news. I was so unbelievably terrified of what she'd make of the situation, of what she'd make of me. I did not want to lose her, but I wanted her to know more than anything else. When she inquired on what burdened me so much, I felt myself go silent and pale, my heart pounding at the inner makings of my chest as the striking woman stared into my panicked eyes. I thought it was only right to finally show you the monster under the mask, I finally found myself saying. My entire body must have been shaking at that point. She tenderly sighed as she responded.
Oh, Mordecai, you don't need to put yourself out there for me in such a way.
I want to show you.
Will you allow me to?
She placed her hands on my face, her fingers tracing the ribbons of my mask as to imply that she wished to remove it herself. I don't think I have the courage to do it myself. My forehead was gently pressed against hers for just a moment, after I gave her a nod of permission.
Firstly, there is something you should know, my dear Blackwood.
Miss Charlotte removed her gloves ever so delicately, and then found their way to the back of my head, undoing the ties that kept my mask in their place. I had to hold back my every urge to pull away or move in repulse. She grabbed a hold of my mask's sides and gently pulled it away from my face. Her eyes were gentle, and her voice tender, as she endearingly said,
You are no monster. You cannot look like a monster, for they have no set appearance. It is the inside that makes a monster. You can act like a monster, for they have certain behaviors. I know a real monster, so I know that you are no monster.
She reached her hand and stroked one of my cheeks.
Your skin. Are you wearing makeup as well?
Yes. I learned how to apply stage makeup, prosthetics, and illusionary cover-up. I sighed and closed my eyes. Even though this was my plan, I don't feel strong without putting on my mask or makeup. I do not feel like I could have been ready to face you without either, but I shall remove the makeup too.
You do not have to.
My dear Miss Charlotte, I need to. I want to go all the way for you. I prepared my bowl of warm water and a towel to continue my task. She pensively waited and watched as I did so. I took my mother's silk ribbon and used it to tie back my hair in order to show the Venus my face as much as I could. This is it. This is me. She moved in closely again, feeling my face with her hands, stroking me so gently.
You aren't your face, and your face is not you. Your soul shines so brightly and beautifully with or without your mask, and it would be a crying shame should I allow your face to miss out on the very aspect of you I love. However, your face does not disturb me like you seem to think it would.
She began to pull me in closer. I almost thought Charlotte was about to kiss my lips with her own. I felt myself grow nervous and turned away in my state of embarrassment. I am so humbled that you are not repulsed.
My own Vata hurts people for his sick games. Not only do I find you such an endearing person, but you could never compare to the atrocities I already know and endear.
It is not my place to know this information, but you've made mention of him before. Of him being cruel.
Yes, he engages in illegal activities such as human trafficking. He is terrible and abusive to most of the people in my life, especially women.
She almost had a twisted expression on her face.
And that is why I could never be bothered by you. Do you honestly think that everyone is taken aback by you so harshly?
Most of my colleagues at the circus tended not to mind, though some made comments. One man in particular. I paused as I held myself. Let's just say he is the reason for my burns.
Yes, I did notice those.
My own father couldn't bring himself to look at me half the time, even in a drunken state. I tugged slightly at the ribbon in my hair. This was my mother's. When I was still a slave to the sideshow, I used to look at this ribbon at night and envision my mother was there with me. I liked to think to myself, I wonder if you would have wanted me. I was always told she was such a saint. Could even she hate me?
How could she not?
She was as beautiful as a goddess and as virtuous as an angel. Everything you're not. And now she's dead because of you. I mournfully shook my head. That's what my father used to tell me. And my face lowered as I slumped my shoulders, believed him. Sometimes I still do. I lived my whole life blaming myself for her death, believing that I am a murderer.
You can't blame yourself for that, Mordecai. You can't keep believing something so terrible about yourself. It's not your fault.
I'll believe, but only if you believe it too.
Of course I believe it.
No, Charlotte. I mean about yourself. When you believe that you too are innocent, that you are not to blame or at fault for the suffering of all those other people.
It's different.
Is it really?
I just don't think it's fair. It's not fair that I'm so untouched and free.
And how is that a vice on you? You punish yourself for it. You are not the one who took their freedom or hurt them in the first place. Should I not be happy simply because someone else is less fortunate than me? She went silent, almost unsure of what to make of my sentiment. She bit her lip before speaking again.
I do not mean to change the subject, but my Vata would finally like an audience with you. We've put it off for much too long and he's getting impatient.
All right. I have no issues with this.
Would Sunday work for you?
That should not be a problem for me in the slightest.
Thank you.
You're very much welcomed. I am glad to be a part of your life and wish to cause no problems with your family.
No, thank you for what you said to me, for always listening to me. You actually listen. You hear me.
I found one of my hands stroking the gentle skin on her cheek. I placed my forehead on hers, just the same as she had done earlier. How could I not want to, my love? Her face suddenly buried itself in the clothing on my chest, and I heard some soft sobs coming from her.
Don't ever let go of me, not unless you mean it.
These words were almost inaudible, but I was so intent on listening that they had not escaped my ears. Never. I could never let you leave my grasp, unless you asked. I wrapped my arms around her, and we sat in silence for a time. Once Charlotte had composed herself, we got back to our music with a different sort of attitude.